Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the SwansCast podcast. I'm joined this time by Lee. There's no Ben, but Lee is back this time. So welcome back, Lee.
Hello, how are we doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, been a while. Everyone's busy in there. So I haven't been the three of us for a while, but that's fine. So what have we been up to then since the last time you've been on?
To be honest, I have no idea. It's been that long. There's so much has gone on. We've had Easter and birthdays and all sorts going on.
We were meant to do this last week, but didn't happen. So we're doing it today, recording on the 29th of April. Probably important to mention that because, as has always happened recently, especially in the last few episodes, by the time I get the video posted, which probably you won't see it on the 29th, I very much doubt, something that we speak about potentially happening probably has now happened, or we've missed some big news or something like that. Because I know on the last episode that we recorded, myself and Ben, I uploaded it on the day that Modric was announced hours later, and everyone was obviously looking for the information and our thoughts on that, which we'll give today. But yeah, we just missed the big news, of course, because that's just what happens in this world, unfortunately. So yeah, that is on the agenda. Luka Modric obviously becoming a part owner. Is that what the word is? Part owner?
Yeah, part owner.
Part owner. I think I saw you got 5% of the shares. So yeah, part owner of Swansea City. We'll obviously have another conversation about Alan Sheehan, which is always the agenda lately, which it keeps obviously being the agenda because it's still not confirmed that he's going to be permanent boss, even though this is what I was trying to refer to. Probably by the time you've seen this video, it will have been confirmed. It looks like that is going to happen now. So we'll have our thoughts on that, of course, after the recent results. I think there's 4 games in total since the last episode. So we'll talk about them, not in so much detail, but in the bigger picture of what it means going forward. And what else is there? Cardiff getting relegated. That's something that might have happened.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I mean, should we have a toast?
Yeah, toast we should.
Cardiff City to League One.
Let's have a League One toast. We're on soft drinks, unfortunately. But
no, I'm not. To be fair, I stuck to my words, and I've had a pint, and now I'm on lemon Thatchers, which we've had conversations about beer before. You're not in your head as if you enjoy it, but that is cider, and I know full well you hate cider.
No, cider. I was just respecting that you were having a midweek drink.
Yeah.
That's good.
Cider's not your friend.
I'm a little bit vulnerable because it was my birthday on the weekend, and
okay.
And I'm sort of at the age now where hangovers stick around a bit longer. So yeah, I had a toast on the weekend, so Cardiff got relegated on my birthday, which was fantastic.
That's brilliant news. Happy belated birthday. I never said it to you, but I'm sure everyone in the comments will wish you a happy birthday as well, and you couldn't ask for a better present.
Yeah, except for Cardiff fans.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of your colleagues might be those type of people, yeah. So I'm sure it's ever sweeter.
Yeah.
Going into the office after the weekend.
It's just been amazing. It's just great.
What's the reactions been?
Bit tentative. I don't want to rub it in too much, but also I've had just been fantastic news.
Fair.
A lot of people have asked, like, am I happy to see them go down? But I was like, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I don't know how everyone else feels about it. I know a lot of people said like they might not have wanted them to go down, but I was firmly in the camp of wanting them to go down.
I don't really care for not having the derby for the next year. I think we had like 6 years straight of it now, and bar one, and I don't know, just the anxiety of losing it. I know when you win, it's amazing, and we've put it this way: we've had a really good run in this period since we got relegated.
Yeah,
obviously, it's massively been in our favour as Swansea fans, and the way things happen in football, that isn't always going to be the case. So if they're not in the league, it can't get worse.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like we
kind of tasted it going bad when we had a bit of a slump after Luke Williams lost his head, and that was bad. Now, so it's sort of like you may have won the battle, but you've lost the war because they've got relegated. But like, they can go and have their little last laugh of that little victory they're going to have to savour now until they come back up, whether that's next season or if it takes them a while, or in case we maybe slip down and meet them again in League One. But I'm quite content with that not being a thing. I'm actually quite happy that, on the other hand, Wrexham have come up, and there is still 2 Welsh clubs, obviously, in the Championship. As much as it's not a derby, like there'll be that Welsh game narrative around it, I think, and the media will probably try and big it up.
Yeah, it'll draw a big crowd as well, and it'll be on Sky probably and stuff like that. So we'll have kind of the same like attraction, maybe not the same. It's not going to be.
It'll be a bit of a nicer event, you'd imagine. And
I don't know.
Well, you think so, and then you got I think there's a lot of good connections between Swansea and Wrexham. Maybe not so much in recent memory, but I think Neil Taylor is one of probably the most recent examples. But Lee Trundle before that. I think if you go back down history, there's a few more, a little bit more connections there.
I remember I remember going to watch the last game of the Vetch was Wrexham as well. So there's always a bit of history there. But yeah, I agree with you though. I was chuffed to see them go down, but mainly because I think we need a break from the derby, because I almost think it's become bigger than our season. It might be the same for both clubs, but it's literally become bigger than we do anything else. You're 5 games out from the derby and everyone's eyes are on that, and then it just seems you win the derby and it can kick you on, or you lose it and it ruins your season.
Well, you say that, but they won it and they've gone down, so maybe that's not what happens.
No, I think this was a bit of an outlier, because I think they fell off a cliff then afterwards, didn't they? But I mean, Luke Williams got sacked off the back of it.
I think it was more to it than just that. But,
no, I know there's more to it than that. But
speaking of Duff, I found it quite interesting. Remember the stick that Duff got for the comments he made saying, "I'd rather lose the derbies and then go up." Essentially, is what he was saying.
Yeah.
Which I'm not trying to stick up for him for those comments, but the Cardiff fans that have been quite vocal since, there's some stuff coming up on my TikTok. To be fair, seem like they're good lads at the podcast that I'm not going to name it because I don't want any grief going that way. But they're talking to someone about essentially this narrative, and they were saying that they would give up their win against us to stay in the league. That's the same as what Duff was saying I got slandered for? Yeah, I'm just saying, in the perspective now of being in the moment where relegation's actually hit and sunk in.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. So and I know in the moment of the derby, it's the biggest thing in the world. But then when the season ends and you've got a relegation or perhaps a promotion on the line, how much do you care about that match? That's already happened at this point. So
yeah,
just an interesting thought process, I think.
Yeah, conversation. I think I remember saying myself as well to you and a couple of the other boys when we lost that game 3-0 and it was getting slammed in our face. I remember saying, I would take them going down. I'd take losing that game for them to go down.
I mean, maybe you were onto something.
Yeah. I don't know. I just had a feeling that day because I thought the celebrations were a bit way over the top. I was
well, they haven't had one for a while, so it was always going to be
I guess so. But we keep getting that back in our face. And I'm but we won 3-0. I was but that was the 3rd game they've won in 6 seasons.
Cool.
It's great.
Enjoy it when you go to Port Vale next season.
Yeah, and we won 7 in that time as well. So,
and you can start shouting as well, "We are your capital." I've seen them; they've been giving Wrexham fans a lot of grief because Wrexham have been kind of laughing a little bit about it as well. Because I think for them, it's just the whole trading places thing. Because
that must have been
how long have Wrexham not been involved in any conversation about being one of the top clubs in Wales? And technically now they are one of the top 2. Next season, they'll have an opportunity of being the highest place in Welsh club. When was the last time they had that opportunity? And I think that's a massive deal for them. So they're taking a little bit of probably a humorous approach to Cardiff going down. And their response has been how are you laughing at us? When you coming down here to your capital to watch Wales play and all this. And it's they still can't leave the whole "we are your capital" thing. Go. I just...
That's fine.
It's funny, isn't it? It's just funny. We'll enjoy it.
I think, like you said, though, we'll finish on Cardiff after this. We'll move on, but I think, like you said, a year off from the derby would be great. But if you could say it was just a year, that'd be fine, and then we could have it again the year after. I think you wouldn't want to go.
But do you think they're going to come straight back up?
They might do. They might be the reset that they need. It might be.
But I agree with you that it's an opportunity for that. But like Vincent Tan,
There's no
like
guarantee. There's no
is he
guarantee they come
gonna
back up.
is he gonna actually like do what he needs to do to make that happen? From a non-biased perspective now, I would worry about them. And then I don't know enough about, I don't know the detail around it, but from what I do understand, like them getting relegated is not great for them financially. Like they're chasing this court case quite heavily. I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it's quite wrong, but they're chasing that quite heavily, which makes you think they need that for some reason, because it does, for me, it seems like clutching at straws. But they're really, really pushing that narrative of chasing that court case and going to the court, so they think they'll have a better chance of winning it in as well. If that doesn't happen, and now they've gone to League One as well, like the money's less anyway. Obviously, they all want Tan to go. Like we've probably heard similar things in the past ourselves, don't get me wrong. But like selling a club in that league now is probably less profitable. Like, is that less likely for him to leave? But then if he's not interested, do you know what I mean? The cycle of like not investing, not putting the money in you need, a bit of a dangerous situation for them. Yeah. And it's funny a little bit when it's their rivals and they get relegated, but I don't think anyone wants a bad situation to come.
No, that's what I was touching on. I think like it's fun now, and we've got the banter, and it's great them going down, and we can have our fun with that. But I wouldn't want to not have a derby for like 10 years, and stuff. Or I wouldn't want to never have one again, So I think like it is funny for now. But if they come back up next year and we've got us, Wrexham, and Cardiff in the same league, that would be
good
as
for
long
Welsh
as we
football,
finished above them all. But right now, I wanted them down. Like, no regret.
Yeah. Last thing on that then, right at the beginning of the season, we looked at the betting odds and stuff, and the bookies had them, to be fair. I think it was second from bottom, if I remember correctly. And you were, I mean, none of us put them there in our predictions. I think we all, maybe a little bit of the like, can you really put your rivals there? Do you really think they're that bad sort of thing? But you were quite outspoken on the bookies being way off it, or you thought anyway. Turns out they were actually quite accurate, which I'm actually surprised as well, to be fair. I didn't think they would be that.
They're never,
I thought their recruitment in the summer was a bit better than it actually seemed to be.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is. The bookies are never far off, though, are they?
Yeah, I was trying to find a list of the pre-season bookies odds to compare it to where our table, what the table is now, just to see how accurate they were, but I couldn't find one. I'll have to keep digging. Anyway,
when the season's over, we'll have a look at our table and see how we did.
Yeah, we'll look at our one. I just wanted to see how the bookies were doing in terms of the other teams getting relegated, because I don't think Luton would have been down there.
Yeah,
but we'll have to see. Anyway, moving on. I know we'll talk about the games in a second. So, what games have we got to look at then? We've got the last game we spoke about was Plymouth, Sunderland 0, Swansea 1. So an away win at Sunderland. Swansea 1, Hull 0 at home, of course. An away win at QPR 2-1, and the last game, which was a defeat to Millwall, which I don't think anyone was really bothered about, given what we just discussed in the scenario of that day. However, before that, it was 5 wins in a row for Alan Sheehan, with a draw beforehand against Leeds, which obviously we discussed that already. Now, in that run, you could look at the table and think it's not the most difficult games. However, Leeds obviously still fighting to win the league. Derby, Plymouth, Hull, and QPR, technically, when we played them, were still involved in a relegation battle of sorts. Maybe QPR weren't, actually. I think they might have just pulled their way out. Yeah, but the other three, most certainly. So, like, they're not easy games by any stretch, all fighting for their lives. And obviously, Sunderland, as much as they have been on a little bit of poor form at the moment, are sitting in the playoff places. So, I didn't catch up with you after the other games we spoke about in the last podcast. So what have been your thoughts on the form and performances currently under Alan Sheehan?
Yeah, I think can't really argue with it, to be honest. Like, I mean, winning 5 games in a row in this league is pretty much impossible. Not many teams have done it. And looking at that run in particular, not just the 5 wins in a row, but that 4-game stretch where we had Leeds away, then we had Derby and Plymouth at home, and then Sunderland away. So we had like two of the top four away, and then 2 of the bottom 3 at home who were banging form as well. Like, you know, Plymouth and Derby were obviously desperate for wins, and then we were kind of going back and forth. I was a bit worried about our position because I was thinking that 4-game stretch, if we came out of that with no wins, I think we were going to get really sucked in, which we probably would have. But for then to navigate through that and get, you know, 3 wins and a draw with Sunderland away and Leeds away and those 2 home games, and we were comfortable in those 2 home games as well. I mean, Plymouth was probably our best performance of the season. Could have been 5 or 6 easy. So we're 3-0 up at half time. So I will give him massive credit for that run, because he just steered us well clear of that relegation zone. What I was worried about was what's happened to Preston now, where they were everyone kind of said they were safe. It looked like they were fine, and then they just kind of been sleepwalking. They haven't won for about 4 or 5 games, and now they can go down on the last day. So I was kind of worried that we were going to kind of fall into that trap, but I think I'll give full credit to Sheehan, because those 4 games in particular are where we were saved, really, and then we kicked on from there then and won 2 more games after that, and then using the momentum. So it's been brilliant. I mean, it's been fun. It's actually been fun watching the Swans. The rest of the season was a bit of a chore going to games. It was a bit like, here we go again. It's going to be hard to watch, and it's going to be a bit of moaning. But then I just couldn't wait for the next game. It got to that time again. We're like, oh, when are we playing next? And we haven't had that all season.
Apologies if you can hear dogs barking in the background. Seems like it's quite loud. But did you know that the 5-game winning streak was the first time Swansea have won 5 in a row since 2007? And the last time they won more than 5 in a row was back in 1999 to 2000, when they won 9 in a row. But obviously we didn't go and beat Millwall to make any new records there. And the score, or the net score over that 5-match winning streak, was 8-1 in favour of the Swans. Obviously the only goal we conceded was against QPR. And the previous goal we conceded was when we drew 2-2 with Leeds.
It was a shame, really, that we conceded that goal against QPR, because 5 wins on the bounce with 5 clean sheets would have been some sort of record, surely. But I mean,
4
conceding 1 goal, 4 clean
great.
sheets and 1 is that just it's perfection, really, isn't it? It's near perfection in a difficult league.
Yeah, I mean, spot on, really. I think momentum and confidence obviously is a bit of a part to play there, but you've got to give credit to Sheehan. It's not been easy games, as I've already mentioned. A lot of the teams there, most of them, were still playing for something or fighting for something. And we've kind of just done the job that we needed to, and arguably in a few of them probably should have scored a few more, specifically Plymouth. I think Hull probably we deserved. We won that game 1-0, and there's an argument we'll go into perhaps in a sec to say, like, from their perspective, that they could have got a point out of it. But I would argue, like, the right team definitely won. We probably definitely should have scored.
Yeah,
I'm using oxymorons, left, right, centre. Yeah, probably, definitely. We should have scored more goals than just the penalty that we got gifted.
Yeah. We were gifted the pen, but we were good value for a win.
And you never know what's going to happen if that doesn't happen anyway. It's just, swings and roundabouts. The ref made bad decisions both sides in that game.
I think I think what was really impressive as well with that stretch. So that stretch of started from Leeds, really, where it was a draw and 5 wins. I felt like every game was different as well. Like, it wasn't just like a template performance, which is what we're used to, which was you could comfortably say before every game, this is who's going to play in what position, this is how we're going to play, and then we're just going to see what happens. I felt like in each of those games, they were all very different, which is what I liked. Like we said before we came on, like you played 5 of the pack against Leeds away. It was a bit more, pragmatic. And then
Derby at home.
Derby at home was a bit more solid, which, I think when he did it, I remember when the team sheet came out, when he did, I was thinking, oh my God, why is he doing that at home against Derby? We need to win this game at the time as well. We really need the 3 points here. Got the win. It was, got the win. And then Plymouth at home was just a completely different game when they just
but he said in the press conference after Derby to say something. He said something like, obviously, I can't remember exactly what he said, right? This is a couple of weeks ago now, but he basically was saying like it was intentional. They went 5 at the back against Derby because of what they were expecting from the opposition, and obviously they got the job done.
Yeah.
They maybe didn't create as many chances, but when they did, and I think he said something like, we knew that they were going to be difficult to create chances against, and most of our chances that we created got kind of snuffed out before the final ball. But the one that didn't, we scored a goal, and that's all we needed essentially. But then he made a point of saying against Plymouth, he told the players to show the other side how much more they could do. And I mean, they were 3-0 up in 35 minutes, and they probably should have ended the game several more goals ahead.
Yeah, it should have. But
in that one,
yeah, but I think that's where he deserves credit, because I mean, Derby were coming into that game like, what was it, 3 or 4 wins on the bounce, wasn't it? They were coming into that game.
Yeah, 4, yeah.
And I remember it being a really bad game, like a really poor game, because there's someone that I work with who is a Derby fan as well, and they were in the away end. And I remember speaking to them thinking it looked like it was two teams like that were happy with the draw. But obviously, I don't think that was the case. I just think that it was such a good tactical battle where, like Sheehan had obviously said, like, this is the way we've got to play to combat what they're doing, and it worked. And I ultimately, I think that's why he's got the job. Or will have the job by the time we finish this.
Yeah. So, I mean, we spoke about. I've lost track of what I am. Obviously, me and Ben spoke a little bit about those 2 games. So, specifically going to Sunderland, going back to the 4 at the back system there. Like, were you surprised to get a win of Sunderland? I was quite surprised that we went to Sunderland and won. I know they they haven't been on the best form. They've been making a lot of rotation and changes going into their games now because they're trying to protect the fitness ahead of their playoffs, because they were guaranteed playoffs like weeks ago.
Yeah.
But they also weren't really fighting for the positions above them, so they were in a bit of no man's land with that luxury. So that's the way they've gone about it. There's fans concerned in Sunderland that they've sacrificed momentum and confidence and form going into the playoffs, and that might not be the right decision.
They're in abysmal form now.
Yeah, so they're a little bit worried, but the reason for that is because every game has been a lot of rotation, a lot of changes, and a lot of like players. Like, it's not the first team that's done so well all season, like starting every game. However, having said that, like, I'm not going to take anything away from us going there and getting a result. And I think it was a bit of a surprise for me, and we did really well.
Yeah, we've got a great record away at Sunderland. We seem to win there all the time, but no, I didn't expect to win it there. After we'd won those, and I spoke to you before, didn't I? We used to do it all the time where it's not just 5 wins in a row. I was trying to find out how many teams win 3 games in the 3-game week, where we have Saturday, midweek, Saturday. I think it's very, very rare that a team wins all 3 games. So after we'd beaten Derby on the Saturday and played Plymouth on the Wednesday and won those 2, and then we were going away again to Sunderland, which is a bit of a trek as well. I just thought, we've probably exhausted ourselves a bit here, and we all but secured safety after beating Plymouth as well. So I thought, they're not gonna, I didn't expect us to get up, but they were. I know it was only 1-0, and it probably looked like in the end that it kind of went up there, and it was a bit of a smash and grab. But I don't think it was. I think we played, particularly in the first half, I thought we were brilliant. Like, we had a couple of really good chances in the first half, and then we finally got a goal, but we were brilliant.
The stat that you hate, yeah. So XG, we had 0.9 and Sunderland had 0.67.
Well, there we go.
And bear in mind, Sunderland had 68% possession, and 12 shots, whereas we only had 9. Obviously, the chances they were creating weren't that significant. Perhaps limited to opportunities further away from the box, and not really, just trying to make something out of nothing sort of thing. So again, though, that shows the flexibility of Sheehan and his tactics, where we've gone home at Plymouth, and we know perhaps with the team that should be winning that game. No disrespect to Plymouth, and we've gone on to put a little bit of a performance for the fans, and really got bums off seats, especially in the first half. I mean, Josh Key's goal as well. You weren't here when we discussed that, but to then go to Sunderland, which is a completely different match, and be a little bit just more hard to beat, but clinical when it comes to the other end. Ben Cabango scored, didn't he? So
Yeah,
trying to recall.
but it was Darlin at the bar, didn't he? And then Cabango at the rebound.
Yeah. From, was it corner or free kick?
It was a free kick.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because there was that video of him celebrating, wasn't it?
Yeah,
on his knees. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that just shows like I feel like we didn't have that sort of flexibility in tactics under Luke Williams.
Yeah,
but also, and I find it quite interesting because there's been a few set pieces we scored from. To be fair, Darlin's obviously scored a few goals. In
Darlin's become like talisman at the moment
again, which he was before. Remember, he was like really dangerous under Duff and when Sheehan was caretaker first time, and that kind of disappeared while Luke Williams has been manager. And this is what I was going to say. A lot of people were saying like, well, what's Sheehan doing? His job as set piece coach or whatever he is, or attacking. I can't remember exactly what he was doing, but I'm sure he was involved in set piece coaching under Luke Williams. And as much as Luke Williams compromised and we were getting all the short free kicks we thought we were going to get, we also were getting goals from corners getting put into the box, and now we are.
Yeah, Darling's got 3 goals now since he's taken over. Since Sheehan's taken over.
Yeah, crazy, innit? Crazy. But good on him and well deserved to win. And again, is what I mentioned in the last podcast to Ben. I think the one thing that Sheehan has done more than anything, and we can even go to the 1-0 defeat at Millwall, we've been hard to beat again and hard to score against. Yeah, we lost that game.
Yeah,
but we're still in it till the end, even if it was a late equaliser. Like, we're not conceding a lot of goals, which after Christmas we went into we did get quite leaky, and there wasn't really any reason for it. But we've mentioned the 4 clean sheets in a row. Even though we conceded against QPR, for me that was me and Ben went to QPR, and that goal specifically, I think maybe a bit of an error of judgment with the tiring wing back. And to be fair, Dembele would come on I think he came on off the bench, just the pace, and he was through. And to be fair, the finish, like,
it was good finish.
Near post, it's the post and goes in.
Great finish, yeah.
Great finish.
Can't argue with that.
You can't argue. But what I mean is, like, I don't think it was a case of QPR creating opportunity after opportunity. It was just like they had that one chance, and the player on that occasion took it. Timon, in my opinion, should have done better. While I'm on QPR, actually, no, let's finish talking about the form and now talk about the away day. I don't have much to say, but I got a little bit of I just want to talk about the experience a little bit, that's all, because there was bits that I was like, I don't know if I'd go back to Loftus Road. Anyway.
No, go on, we'll come back to that. I've been to Loftus Road myself a couple of times. And
I haven't got much else to say on the games, really. I just want to talk about Hull a little bit. You went to the Hull game, yeah?
Yeah, I was there, yeah.
So I took my kids for the first time to their first football match. It was all right, to be fair. Probably a little bit too young to really take an interest, but it was like kids for £1 when and half price adults. So for me and Nia to go, it was like same price as me paying just for myself, and then just to
they got a good crowd in as well. To be fair, it was on the.
It works. I just feel like it shows that the pricing have a bit more flexibility in it, and maybe you'll get more in the ground. But
they should do it more often.
I mean, it would be great if a club took the punt of making that the norm rather than a one-off thing.
Yeah,
and seeing how that affects attendances, because surely if that was every week, even though they're charging less, they wouldn't make it. Must balance out in regards to, like, okay, well, we're going to charge more but only sell half the seats.
Yeah,
but I'm not a business person, so this is not for me to make those decisions. Anyway, what do you think of the referee's performance in that game?
I can't really remember, to be honest. Was this the one where he booked Joe Allen the knee when he got the ball? Was it that game? Yeah, I think it was. Like, Joe Allen got his foot on the ball and it was a great tackle and he booked him, and then he lost control in the first half of it, where he was like, he booked someone and then he like had to return the favour, and it was just like he completely lost control, if I remember right. And then obviously we had the penalty, which was not, and then it wasn't a good performance.
Yeah, so I'm in obviously a group chat with a lot of championship clubs, and I did the preview with Ant from the Hull podcast that he works with. He was messaging just saying how awful the ref was, basically against Hull, not specifically for the match. And we were just back and forth for a lot of the game. I just, yeah. For me, it wasn't a good refereeing performance, right? And I'm not the penalty. We'll go into that in a minute. I can't remember who was it. The left back, yeah. It was Crooks. Was that was it Crooks? Who got subbed in the first half? Let me check.
I can't remember. Oh yeah, he did. He got
Crooks,
subbed early, didn't he? I do remember. They took him off early, didn't they?
Yeah, McLaughlin. I can't say his name. McLaughlin, the left back, not Crooks. I don't know why I said Crooks. It was the left back. He had a yellow card in like the 3rd minute. I can't, for the life of me, can't remember what that was for. To be honest, I think I was more interested in taking pictures of my kids at their first match at that point. But he should have had a second one. Absolutely should have had a second one, but he didn't. I think the first one was a bit soft, which is probably why he didn't get the second one. But the second one was 1000% a yellow card, and he didn't get it, and he instantly got subbed off. That's the biggest indication that you've just got away with one when your manager subs you off in the 37th minute.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. No one really massively kicked up a fuss about that. In the chat I was having, Joe Allen's yellow card did get pulled up because apparently should have been on one already, but whatever. The penalty then. Now I've seen replays, right? I agree. It is his head. It shouldn't have been a penalty. However, every single person in that stadium at the time thought that was a penalty. Yeah, and the reason for that is because of the way the player, I can't remember, sorry, which one it was now, because again, it's gone back a few weeks. Actually, wasn't it Egan? It was Egan, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think it was Egan. He has his hand up in the air next to his head, like you, literally like you. Obviously, if you're listening on the audio only, I've literally got my hand next to my head. And he's moving across the goal to make a block. And from where the referee is, which is directly behind from where like the shot is taken, you can I can absolutely understand why the referee thinks that's handball. Because everyone else in the stadium thought that was handball. Because the hand is moving in the direction of the ball, then is a contact, and the ball moves away in the direction that the hand would have hit it. Essentially, is the best way I can describe it. And it looked like he swung his arm across front of his face.
It was a weird one because I sit in the stadium. I sit like on the side, so I'm like in line with that box where the penalty was. And I remember him sliding in with his arm up. And then you're right, when it hits his head, his arm also like goes backwards, like there was contact made with his hand. So I remember like him giving he didn't give the penalty initially, did he? I think the linesman gave it, or I can't remember. But
they just had a little bit of a pause and
a little bit of a discussion. But I remember like you said, everyone in the stadium, everyone by me were like, "What is the discussion here?" That was an absolute storm. Well, you can see that he basically charges it with his hand. And then when I saw the replay afterwards, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that's not what it looked like at all in the stadium.
So to everyone watching on the telly, that was absolutely never a penalty, and you get that discussion then on social media because generally speaking, the ones at the ground aren't the ones probably posting in the immediate aftermath of that incident. Yeah. And there's a lot of like, oh, championship refs are bad, this, that, the other, which, okay, he's made a wrong decision. However, what I'm trying to say is like, in this occasion, absolutely everyone in the ground thought that was a penalty. That's the decision that was made. It was the wrong decision, of course. However, this is the exact reason, and I'm not trying to stick up for VAR here, but that's what VAR was brought in to help. Yeah. Now, the issue around VAR is the implementation of it, okay? And that's a different conversation that I don't want to get into. But what I just want to ask is, if everyone is so frustrated about a decision like that being incorrect, when in real time, everyone within the vicinity of the stadium thought that was the right decision, which only a replay thereafter has said, no, it was a wrong decision, is it fair to really criticize the ref, and then say, no, you can't have the support because we don't like the support? I just think there needs to be a conversation there because you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I was sure it was a bit of an optical illusion, wasn't it? In the stadium, it was a stone wall.
I think it's one of those, like we had Mac Rimes away at Burnley with his hand up, and
it's
kind of like, well, maybe the players asked the question of the referee at the end of the day. Like, if his arm's not up, he doesn't give it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, why is his arm there? I don't know why his arm's there.
Yeah, I think that was it as well. It's in such a weird position, and then it looks like, there we go.
And I'm not trying to justify the incorrect decision. I'm just trying to say, like, obviously it's a mistake, but I completely understand why that mistake's been made. And the issue here is the ramifications that could have on the whole season. I understand that. Like, there's big things at play here.
Yeah.
And then, for me, then, that's more of an argument to give the right support. So, like, again, not going to go into a VAR conversation. It needs to be implemented in a better way, of course. But, like, if it was implemented in the perfect way, surely then of quick, like TMO Rugby of review of that sorts that out instantly. But, like, if you're not going to allow that to the refs in the league, then there's got to be an element of understanding when decisions like that are incorrect, which it wasn't. As what I'm trying to say is, if you're there in person, it wasn't black and white. If you're on a telly, you've got the luxury of that really slowed down a million times, analysed by punditry, and you can shout all about it as much as you want then. But it just highlighted to me, because I'm that person watching the telly quite often shouting at it, and it just highlighted to me how much different it is sometimes.
Yeah.
In person.
Nobody in that stadium left that stadium thinking it was not a pen. And then I remember going to the pub afterwards, because it was the bank holiday Friday, wasn't it? Yeah. Went to the pub afterwards, and Sky Sports News was on, and I was like, oh, here we go, we'll watch the penalty now. And then they showed the replay, and everybody there was like, oh my god, that is his head. Like, no, everyone just thought like, oh yeah, here we go, we'll see it at his hand now.
Yeah, but the replay's slowed down as well, isn't it?
Exactly, so, like, exactly. Yeah. So I think
it's a lot easier to make that decision then all of a sudden. So
bit of a funny one, that one.
But I just wanted to get that off my chest really, because he was fuming in the chat, and I understand why he's fuming. I get it, but I just think that's the part of the whole VAR and support for the referee debate that gets missed quite often. Is that VAR isn't the perfect solution. But the reason it's there is for those sort of incidents, not for the ones that quite often cause the controversies.
Yeah.
The other thing then, Fulton apparently should have been sent off. Do you think that should have been the case?
I can't remember what he did now. He just pulled someone back, didn't he?
Yeah, but he absolutely nailed someone before he did that, got away with it, and then like 2 minutes later pulled someone back, I think. When I say
sounds like Fulton, to be fair.
Yeah. But okay, that's fine. He didn't register it. And their penalty shout, I didn't get a good view of it, and I haven't seen a replay.
No, I think we're too far removed now. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's fine.
The specifics, but I mean, if it was in, it would have stuck. It would have stood out. But.
Do you think Vipotnik is now the penalty taker, or do you think he just owned that situation?
I don't know. He didn't seem very confident to me. Do
you not think?
No, he didn't strike the penalty very well, did he? I feel like he had to take it. But I think it kind of highlights. I don't think I did a podcast with you since the one where Timon had it at Leeds, but
where he missed.
Yeah, but to be fair, it wasn't a bad penalty. It just got saved. But I think it just highlights that we kind of don't have much attacking threat, do we? I mean, like Cullen, you'd expect Cullen to take it as our top goal scorer.
Yeah, but he's missed before as well.
I know, it's just like, it's a bit thin on the penalty thing at the moment. But I don't know.
Who would you pick, right, out of the team that started there? So on the pitch there, I would say maybe you'd look at Joe Allen, Lewis O'Brien. Maybe the other one I would look at is but I think probably is a confidence thing, I would think. Yeah. If he misses that penalty, probably shatters him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I'm not sure. So maybe I understand why he wouldn't, perhaps. But I think, if he was here for a few seasons, bedded into the Championship, like confident in himself,
Darling,
I don't see why he wouldn't be a good penalty taker. I mean, Darling's. Would you trust him with penalties? Like, I know he scores a lot from set pieces, but he also misses a lot from set pieces.
You wouldn't do it. But I just feel like he would be one of them that would just put his boots through it, and then
you'd love to see it, wouldn't you? But one of them's going like Twickenham.
Yeah. It might work for a while, and then one of them would go like wild. But it would just be he would be one of them penalty takers that would just put his laces through it, and it would be.
It would annoy the opposition. You'd like, but yeah. I thought maybe O'Brien, but I mean, you can never moan if your striker picks up the ball and he put it in. To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I think. To answer your question, I think he has to be our penalty taker at the minute, because my thoughts on
every game though, does he? So like, who's it going to be when he's not starting. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of
maybe
a
this time in second, but he obviously missed against Leeds. And you think he'd be? I wouldn't put him there personally, but he takes a lot of the set pieces, doesn't he?
yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's one of them. And then if he scores, it would have been fine. But it's just because he came out of nowhere and it was his first one and he missed it. Everyone was kind of like, "Oh, why did he take it?" But if he scores it, I mean, he's got a lovely left peg, and he like Grimes used to take penalties with a lovely left foot as well. So
Yeah, and he wasn't even consistently made a penalty taker when he was here.
no, so I didn't have a problem with that.
Let's move on to QPR away. So obviously, me and Ben went up to this one. He was provided free transport by the club, so that was good. That was nice. We normally would drive, but took advantage of that opportunity. Wasn't the most pleasant experience, I'll be honest. To be fair, we were on a decent bus. There's decent people on there. It was all right. I have no issues with that part of it, but we absolutely cooked on the way up for the first hour because I kid you not. So when was this? Like a week ago, Monday.
Yeah, Easter Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the weather was meant to be drizzly, but it didn't actually come. So it was all right. It was like overcast and sunny in spells, and you had the heating on because apparently it was not very warm down the front of the bus. All the radiators were on at the back. The air cons wasn't working because they had the heating on, and we were absolutely melting. People were like borderline going to pass out, opening the sunroof and stuff. And then eventually someone shouted down to him, and he was like, "Oh, is it warm? Yeah." Well, he was just like, "Oh my god." I'm not joking. There was sweat forming on my forehead. That's how bad it was. And this is like, there's 3 hours left of this, or 2 hours, or whatever it was. We were like, "Oh my god, are we going to make it?" So that wasn't the most pleasant experience. He also didn't stop at the services. He was straight through on the way up and back, which for a 3.5 to 4 hour drive, like I can manage it, don't get me wrong, but you're quite limited for time when you're on an away day. Like, it would have been nice to have a stop on the way back, especially, I think.
Yeah.
At least to get something to eat. Anyway, so that was one thing. And then QPR is a place, like, we didn't perhaps explore as much as we could have. There might have been some decent bars around. Did look like, it's in London, and it's in like White City area, Shepherd's Bush, which I know Shepherd's Bush is all right, to be fair. It's just a little bit longer of a walk away from the ground. So we had food, went to the ground. We thought, rather than go the other way to find a pub, we'll just go to the ground early. Guess how much a pint was?
9.
No, I wasn't quite that bad. But, well, actually, to be fair, it was £7.25, but it was a can of Carlsberg.
Oh, no. That's... No. No. £7.25 for a can of Carlsberg. Ouch.
I think you could have gone to some of the, like the bar, and they did have it on tap. But we went to like the pop-up bar, and it was cans, but it was the same price.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we only had one of them because I was like, I'm not paying that twice. Absolutely not. You could have got a crate of like 15 for that price.
Yeah.
Not joking. It wasn't even one of the big cans either. But anyway, the concourse is the smallest concourse I've ever been in. You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been to QPR a couple of times, and
it's an old ground, so you can't blame them, but it's just not comfortable.
I was trying to, when obviously I couldn't make it that Monday. I was a bit gutted. I missed the away day, but I was saying to you in the group, wasn't I? I was thinking like, yeah, it is. It's not the best ground I've been to, and I didn't want to be too harsh, but it is the worst away day I've been to QPR.
Yeah, and the seats, which they did implement, actually, to be fair, like sitting in the seats, and there's probably a good reason for it, and I'm surprised someone hasn't fallen off.
Yeah.
The actual terrace there's no leg room. It's so like cramped in where you sit in, like up against the seat in front of you, which makes it very steep. And as you celebrate, you can imagine the scenes get a bit wild. And I'm surprised no one has toppled over. It was quite good though. It was good atmosphere. The fans were really good. It's probably one of the best away days I've been on from that perspective in regards to the fan atmosphere. But I think the form we've been on, a couple of the songs that are kind of big at the moment, with the whole trying to get Harry Dallin new contract and Sheehan the job.
A lot of good.
The Franco one's obviously doing the rounds quite a lot at the moment, which is a big one. And there's do you remember the box like right next to the away stand? It's like a big glass box.
Oh, I can't
On the
remember. I haven't
next
been
stand
for a couple of
over.
years.
I sent you a video of that someone recorded. I mean, I think people. It was a bit of banter, wasn't it? But there's people that are sitting in there with their lanyards on because they've got the special VIP access and all that, and they were a little bit of a target for some of the songs. But at the end, when the Swans fans were chanting about Cardiff getting relegated, they were standing on the little balcony next to them, like conducting it. So that was quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was good. And the match itself was obviously good as well, up until QPR got their goal and had a bit of a resurgence. I think we probably should have scored at least one more.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good going forward at times. Bit of a messy goal, wasn't it? The first goal. I'm trying to recall which one was which now.
It was own goal first, wasn't it? First half, and then it was like a scramble. Darling tapped in.
Second goal I'm on about, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I got too much more to say on that. We're trying to. I would love to do Wrexham next year. I don't know how capable of doing that we will be, but
I'd imagine it'd be a popular one.
How far away is that? Like 4 hours?
Yeah, it's about that. I mean, I've been to Wrexham quite a bit with. Well, Fran was in there on placement in Wrexham Hospital for a while, so she was up there for a couple of months. So I went to stay up there.
Would you got the M5? Would you
No,
got through Wales?
I got the train up once, and then I drove up another time. I went up through Wales, and then I got the train up another time. I got the train up a couple of times.
Is it a bit easier now with the A465 all being finally done?
I just hate going that way. I hate going that way.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. What should be like midweek now, and then it'll be like completely off the cards.
Probably. I'd imagine it'd be picked up on Sky. I'd imagine. I think Swans Wrexham will be on TV. Probably like a early kick-off though, which would be annoying.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's mad. When I was there, when I went to the ground, I was like, oh, I'll go and watch a game because I was there on my own.
Can't get tickets, can you?
at the time I had a couple of hours to kill, so I was like, oh, I'll go, and it was they were in the National League at the time.
Is that before the takeover?
I think the takeover had just happened, so they took over like mid-season, so nothing had really happened, and I think they had like Wealdstone at home, and they drew 0-0. And I was like,
Wealdstone.
Yeah.
Not the meme that.
Yeah, that
guy. Wealdstone, is it?
Yeah, them. Yeah.
You got no fans.
Yeah, it was that. It was them, and I thought, oh yeah, here we go.
Was he there?
No, I can't remember.
Should have got a picture with him.
But I remember it was 0-0, and yeah, that was great. And I thought, oh yeah, this isn't going to take off. And now we are a couple of years later.
Well, we can have the luxury of still being the highest club for at least now. But do you think it's going to change?
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately,
got people saying already that they've now got to the Championship, so they're going to be the biggest club in Wales, which I don't doubt financially and like going forward that might be the case, but you can't say that yet.
No, I think the only thing I'll say on it, we'll move on. We won't talk about other clubs too much, but they've got the luxury of, I think players will want to go there. So I think now they're in the Championship, I think they'll get top-end Championship players, perhaps low-end Premier League players that will go there just for the exposure.
This is what I think you're right. And this is where I don't understand fully the SSP stuff, because like surely there's a limit to how much they can do.
But I don't know. It might be me looking at it too simply, but they're bringing in so much money. They've done it so well.
I mean, if they can obviously spend that, can they? But like, where's that coming from? Is it all through the club? Because I don't know how it works with the SSP and the balance in the books. There's only like how much of it's coming from the club or from the Hollywood? Do you know what I mean? And
I don't really.
Does that count?
Well, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure it does count. Because I think they're getting tons of money from the documentary, and they're getting tons of money from the sponsors that they can attract. Some of the sponsors that they're getting now, obviously, with their owners is ridiculous. So the money that they're getting in there, which seems legitimate, is just, you can't really compete with it.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about our ownership a little bit in a second. Have we got anything to say on Millwall before we close up this?
No, I think it was just our eyes were elsewhere, weren't they, that day? I think.
Yeah, I can't tell you a single thing from that game. I'm not going to lie. I was more
I watched.
intrigued in the goings on of the table.
I watched the first half of the Millwall game, and then I two screened it then and put the Cardiff game on and the Swans game on the side as well. But it was just there was too much going on, too much excitement going on in the other game.
All I know is we had a significantly better second half than first half.
We did.
But obviously, we were 1-0 down. So
I felt like it was. I felt like it was after we had that 5-game winning streak. I felt like it was time that it was coming to an end. I don't know. I just felt. I didn't feel like we were going to win that game. The other ones, like maybe Hull and QPR, after we'd had the other wins, I thought, yeah, we're going to go on a run here. But when we got to that Millwall game, it felt like it was time that we'd probably run out a bit of steam. And then when I saw Darlin was injured, I think we missed him a lot. But there we go. Hopefully,
just to run it through quickly, Millwall 2 big chances in the first half, 13 shots, 1.3 xG. And then second half was complete reverse, where we had 2 big chances, 11 shots, and 1 xG, and they had like nothing. It was literally each team had a half each, and unfortunately we just didn't score. That's generally what's gone on there. But I mean, they still fighting for playoffs, and so you probably can't be too begrudged by that result. I think it's not like we rolled over for them, and they will be fighting for the playoffs in the last game. So
yeah,
good luck to Millwall. I wouldn't have predicted them to finish there, so if they do, then fair play.
It's weird because nobody seems to want to grab the playoffs this year. I mean,
it's happened last year as well. Though. Like they just
we talked about Sunderland a bit to me that they've kind of fallen off. I know they rotated, and then like Sheffield United went on a horrific run of form, and then the last 2 spaces like Bristol and Coventry at the moment, and like Middlesbrough, Blackburn, and Millwall can still get in there. It's like it's just like seems a weak playoffs to me. Like whoever goes up, I think is
it's got to be Sheffield or Sunderland that goes up. But Sunderland seem to have shot themselves in the foot.
I just feel like whoever people were saying about us. I think if we sneaked in there on that form, I would have fancied us against anyone. And the form we were in,
and whoever it is that goes up, even if it was us that did that, we'd all be coming straight back down anyway. So
whoever goes up in that playoffs is getting a horrendous time in the Premier League, which I think is the case for everyone at the minute. That's another story.
That's maybe a podcast for the summer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So Sheehan, Swans Independent. I'll link their articles in the description. They obviously do some good work. I quite enjoy reading what they have been putting out lately. Did a few days ago release an article to say that she hadn't been offered the head coach role at Swansea. Basically, I'm not going to read it out, but to summarise, he'd laid his terms. Club had put an offer out. Obviously, back and forth, trying to get closer to an agreement. Today, because this was 3 days ago, today, I think we're on the cusp of an announcement or a deal being struck, which is why we were saying at the start of the video, probably by the time you've watched this, knowing our luck, it will be announced. Probably the second that we click stop recording. Do you reckon? I wonder if they'll do it like at home before the game.
I think they'll announce it. What day are we today? Tuesday. I think they'll announce it either Wednesday or Thursday in time.
And then he'll have the press conference.
His press conference. Yeah, I think that's what will happen.
I have been informed that it's on the agenda in terms of in the coming days.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the right decision?
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I know, like we've talked about it, and there's people like Ben, for example, I know who's dead against it, and people who are dead for it. And I don't want to sit on the fence too much, but I genuinely don't know. It's just a weird one. Like, I mean, the run of form we've been on, and what I've seen, like what I talked about earlier, in the way that we've won all those games and we've won them differently, and I've seen him do different things tactically. I've been very, very impressed with that. But without that 5-game spell, would he get the job? I don't know. I honestly don't know where I sit. I think it's the right decision right now. I don't think you can not offer him the job. But I think it's just going to be one. It's just going to be one in hindsight. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about it. It's just a really, really weird answer. I
talk about sitting on a fence.
I know. I don't know how to feel about it because he's done so well. So this is where I'm at the minute. So he's done brilliant. There's no arguing against that. 5 wins in a row, 4 clean sheets, conceded 1 goal. They've been fantastic. He got us out of a hole. Well, not out of a hole, but we were kind of in the relegation mix-up slightly, and then we pushed away from it comfortably. But then, like I said to you earlier, we always play well at this time of the year when we've got like nothing to play for. We always seem to. So is it like a trend that we're a bit comfortable now and the feeling's all great at the minute? And
But we weren't though when he took over.
no, I know, but obviously we won those couple of games, and then I think we're kind of riding the momentum now, aren't we? But and I know a lot of people have said things like, "Oh, if the season was a couple of games longer, we'd get in the playoffs." I don't think that's true either, because I think if we had big games, it's different, isn't it? When you're playing with freedom, we're great at the minute because everyone's laughing, everyone's smiling, it's brilliant. But I think if we had like serious games to play where we had to win, I think it would be a lot different. We might have carried on the form. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts on it. I still just feel like right on the fence.
I know what you're saying, and I agree to an extent, but I do think like the stats line up. I know we looked
Yeah,
at
they do.
them before, but also there is context in them, especially the last 3 seasons, that they do line up coincidentally. But I think the context is also important. Like the situation we were in when Luke Williams got sacked was created by him.
Yeah.
You know, like as much as it goes in line. Maybe it's the whole it's the January window, isn't it? Ultimately, that tends to be the thing that throws it off.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, some form of instability has been caused that ends up showing on the pitch, with the results being poorer. And then when the stability comes back, we get better again. That's generally what's going on. But I think Sheehan deserves credit for the stability as much as Luke Williams probably deserves credit for last year regaining the stability. Now, he was the same person that went into this January and got rid of the stability because of the links with West Brom and all of that stuff that happened with that. Like, because at the end of the day, he came into us looking to progress his career, and I guess in his head that was the next. If he had went to West Brom at that time, happy days for him, isn't it? Like none of that bad run happens on his watch, and he don't care anymore. Sheehan's had to come in and pick up the pieces, and you can only play or do what's in front of you at the end of the day. And what I was saying in terms of the issues regarding, like, I don't know why there's reservation around it. Maybe it's because he hasn't been a manager before, like it's championship level or this, that, the other. But what manager have we hired since we got to the champion, or since we got relegated, that isn't really a bit of a risk or punt?
Yeah, no,
like
I agree.
So Graham Potter was plucked out of Sweden. No one really knew if he could do it in English football. Steve Cooper was like never managing a professional first team before he took us on. It's always the underage levels. Russell Martin had some average spells at MK Dons, and what was the other one? I know he did okay at MK Dons, but he hadn't like pulled trees up, had he?
I think that was it, wasn't it? Wasn't he MK Dons for us?
It might have been. I can't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah.
Michael Duff, like, if anything, on paper, probably had the most credible record going into the job, and that didn't necessarily work out. And Luke Williams was our assistant manager, went to go manage non-league Notts County and got them promoted, and then came back to be our manager. So why does Alan Sheehan's credentials necessarily, why are they less than any of that, really? Like, just because he hasn't done a job. If he didn't get this job right, he's going to leave and he's going to go somewhere. I don't think he would necessarily have to go to non-league like Luke Williams has. I think
I don't think so.
League One would pick him up quite easily, maybe even championship level because of what he's done. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know why we need to be having reservations.
He's put, I think he's put enough out there, especially in this run year, since he's had the job, to attract a job 100%. To be honest, I don't really know what the reservation is. I think the only difference is with Sheehan compared to the other ones you've just named is that they had a bigger body of work to kind of look at. So you kind of can say, like Russell Martin coming in, for example, you could say like, well, we knew he was like going to play like this possession football. We've seen what he's done with MK Dons. There was a bigger kind of portfolio to look at. Same with Luke Williams. You could see what he'd done at Notts County over a couple of years, and Duff had been managing for a while, and you could kind of see what he was doing. And Barnsley fans could kind of give us like what we were going to do. I think it's been weird with Sheehan because he's been at the club for a while, and then he had that little spell between Duff and Williams, didn't he? Where he had that little game, and I think it was unfair because where I think he does deserve credit is he just looks at the situation. He's like, right, this is what I got to do. And I remember he was particularly like defensive, wasn't he?
That football in his first interim spell was horrendous, but he got 1.5 points per game.
Exactly. Well, I remember we did like me and you did. We tried to do like a graphic, didn't we, where he had like a really good like points per game ratio. Then didn't he? Done really well, and we credited him. We said, because we thought we thought the wheels were coming off back then as well. And we thought, here we go, we might go down like we do every year in January, or me in particular. And I said, well, credit to him, we've done really well. He's now given Williams a platform to push on, and then he's come in this time and he's done it a bit differently again. Where he's looked at these set of players and gone, right, this is what I got to do. So I think he deserves massive credit. I think it may just be because, like we said, he hasn't got that like body of work where we kind of know what his proper style of football is. I think maybe that's where the reservations is. I've seen comments of people saying like, oh, like Swansea's dead if they appoint him. So I think that's absolutely ridiculous because I think what he's done, he deserves credit for. So I think my kind of stance on it is it's definitely the right decision right now because of the position we're in. And I think you've got to appoint him based on what he's done. The players seem to like him. And I love what the club's doing with that YouTube thing as well. Have you seen that Inside Swans thing?
Yeah.
And I guess they wouldn't put out stuff that looked bad anyway, but the players seem to really get on with him. He seems to get out. The players seem to be playing for him in the switch when Williams is gone. He seems to be getting a tune out of individuals. He's improved a lot of individual players, which we could run through. So, and they're in the club day to day. So if they can see that the players want him there, I think it could help in terms of stuff like, maybe Darlin signs a new contract because now we say, right, Sheehan's the manager next year. He seems to be getting on. He seems to be playing very well. Darlin is one in particular that's been outstanding at the end. Is he playing for a contract somewhere else? I don't know.
I was saying about Swans Indy just now, but they are reporting that there's going to be talks after Oxford, and that's not to say he is going to sign.
Yeah,
also not.
But
to say
I think like it's a thing
there's
of
still a chance. There is still a chance.
It's a thing of stability where I think it's a good idea to appoint him now. The player, like I said, the players seem to be playing for him. He's getting a tune out of better players. So if you're going to appoint him now before the end of the season, before the players go off the preseason, players like O'Brien has been vocal about how much he's enjoying it here. He goes back knowing that Sheehan is going to be in charge. Whereas if he goes back with nobody in charge, then he's probably not going to come back at all when he's like, I don't even know who the manager is next year. But if he knows he's coming back to this group of staff and a lot of these group of players, then it's half the battle, isn't it? So yeah. I definitely think it's the right decision, but it's just going to be one of them again in hindsight where we could start the season now and it could be rubbish and then everyone will be like, oh, see, he's rubbish, or he could be great and he could carry on what he's been doing now. So we'll see. But he definitely deserves. I think you can't. There's not enough reasons not to give him the job right now. There's not enough reasons for. So I'm tipping one side of the fence. I think it's the right decision.
Who else comes in otherwise? And you've got to go and do your research on them.
Yeah,
they're probably going to cost you more money. And people say it's a gamble to bring Sheehan in. He's a cheaper option, okay. But like if we've seen what he's doing, it's not like we're giving him the job from nothing.
No.
If we go and get someone like that guy that was linked from Europe, probably going to cost a bit more of a signing on fee, perhaps a bit higher wages because he's come from wherever he's come from. What if that doesn't work then? You've got to sack him, or you can't sack him because of the cost of that. Like that's also a gamble. So like I don't really understand why. At the end of the day, as you've already alluded to, he's definitely getting a tune at the players. They seem to be playing for him. There was concern. Part of the issues I was going on with Luke Williams was this divide between Sheehan and Williams and the difference in philosophy. and the whole crime situation, I was involved in that as well. But ultimately, Williams is gone, and the performances have been considerably better, and the players seem to be a lot more upbeat and like positive and like together.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
Look, I'm not saying that Sheehan didn't do anything he shouldn't have done during Williams' times here. I don't know what happened. Whatever happened with that, I don't know what happened. But like, bottom line is Williams is gone now and he's in charge, and everyone seems to be on board with him. So it just makes sense to keep that momentum going. And he might turn out to be a really good manager. We've taken risks before with young managers, and it's worked out. It could happen again. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. But like you said, I think it's going to be more in line with Steve Cooper's reign, maybe in charge, which maybe is why you're seeing some of those comments on social media regarding Swansea being dead. I'm not trying to say be exactly the same as Steve Cooper, but I think when you compare the Russell Martin, the Luke Williams high possession style of football, it's not going to be that. It would be that sometimes when perhaps we are considerably the team heavily favourite for a game, like we saw against Plymouth, for example. Like we can do it, we're capable of doing it when our opportunity arises. But he's more pragmatic in a way of like looking at the opposition and making sure we have the best chance of getting a result.
And give me
with our
that
game
all
plan.
day.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It's more like Steve Cooper in that way. And as we've had a lot of clean sheets, but we weren't winning necessarily by massive goal margins in those games that we in that winning run. As much as we scored a few goals, and don't get me wrong, I'm not disappointed in the amount of goals that we scored during that winning run. But 4 of them were by 1 goal margins, which is very similar to Steve Cooper's reign. But give me 5 wins in a row with a 1-0 margin any day of the week, or 1 goal winning margin any day of the week, than like 3-0 here, lost 2-1 there, fluctuating roller coaster season, like what we've been kind of used to for a while. So I think it's the right decision. At the end of the day, if you've been put in caretaker manager and asked to do a job, told that he's essentially auditioning for the job, you can't have done anything else more.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody thought we were going to get near 60 points. And what are we sitting on now?
60.
Yeah, we were happy when we got over 50 because we thought that might be safety. And now we're sitting on 60. Like, I believe that's more than last season.
Yeah.
I'll double check.
Last
season was 57.
Yeah, so we've beaten last year's total.
That's the Michael Duff into Luke Williams season with Sheehan in the middle. What was the stat you pulled up earlier with the percent of points he's got for us this season?
I think it was like 38% of our points. He's got in 12 games.
In 12 games.
Yeah.
Which is...
And he's got 7 clean sheets in his 12 games, and we had 7 clean sheets in 33 under Williams.
Yeah, so I mean, that says it all. How can you not give him the opportunity? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But for me, what was the last manager that... I mean, Russell Martin obviously left to go somewhere of his own accord. Steve Cooper, I don't think he was ever going to work for another season before that was it.
No.
I know he didn't get sacked, but like it was just becoming untenable for whatever reason.
Even though they were our 2 best seasons in the championship.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. But that's how it went.
Yeah, but this is what I mean.
Left, but like Duff sacked, Williams sacked, so they're in a bad trend at the moment of sacking their managers.
Yeah,
I just don't see why not risk something when it's worked so far. So that's my opinion on it anyway. And even Ben, as much as he was outspoken on saying he doesn't necessarily think this is the right decision, he's also said to us he also doesn't think they can justify not giving it to him, and he completely understands why they would. So he's not like got the pitchforks out saying he shouldn't be in charge.
No, I know. Some of the stuff Ben said was spot on as well. I said the new season will bring new challenges and stuff like that. But what I am worried about is like the level of some people like already like writing him off. Like I said, like some people say like Swansea's dead and we're going to play all this terrible football already going into it. Now, this is kind of what was Steve Cooper's downfall, was that he was winning games and we were like 3rd in the league, and people were still slating him and telling him to get sacked because he wasn't playing good football. when are we going to move away from this? And I think this is the time to move away from that. I don't think
It's
it's going
time
to
to stop
happen.
listening to the fans on social media.
I think this is what I mean. I think it's got to stop because we've literally seen it this season. We've just had all the stat. We can go through every stat in the book you want. We had all that possession in all these games, and we were not effective. Sheehan has come in, and he's gone, these are the type of players that we've got, similar to what Cooper did. At the time, we had the players that had to play that system. He went on then to go to Forest, who played good football because they had the players to do it. You need a manager to come in, like Sheehan now, which I'll give him massive credit for. He came in and he's gone, right, these are the players I've got. This is how I get a tune out of them. Like O'Brien, he's like, in some games, he's pushed him forward into almost a 10, where he's the high press. And he's been brilliant. And then there's other games where he's played him a bit deeper. And then he seems to be getting a really good tune out of like Eom, and Vipotnik's been a lot better. And like Darling's all of a sudden really dangerous. And he's just getting the best out of the players that we've got. Like, and I had a look at some of the, some games we've had 40% possession and some games we've had 60+% possession. So it's just different ways of playing. And that excites me because I think I'd want to have a manager that can be like, well, what have we got to do to win this game today? We've got to play like this, regardless of everyone's going to be like, oh, we only had this amount of possession. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. No, we won the game.
I tell you who hasn't been getting as much criticism and has actually played really well since Sheehan's come in. Jay Fulton.
Fulton's been good, yeah. That entire midfield unit has been brilliant. Franco and O'Brien have just been someone else in this run, and then Fulton and Allen have been coming in as well. He's been rotating them, and they've been brilliant as well when they've come in. That midfield, like
Yeah,
we thought that like Grimes leaving was going to be a disaster.
he's found a solution to it. Luke Williams didn't find a solution to it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We didn't like Williams couldn't adapt to it, and we were like, I think it was the Coventry game, wasn't it? After he'd gone to Coventry, he didn't play, but we were really lost, and I was just like, oh my god, what are we going to do here? And then like we went on a bad run there as well, didn't we? But then Sheehan's come in, and he's like I said, he's just found what have we got to do to be solid? Right, we're going to do this, and that midfield unit's been absolutely brilliant in this run. So I give credit to him again.
Yeah, I've just seen one of the tweets you're on about someone comparing it to Solskjaer going in at United, saying it's going to unfold by December. Like it might be the case, right? And it doesn't work. And it doesn't work by December, but that could happen to anyone we bring in. It happened to Michael Duff.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
End of October. So,
and like I said, our seasons are so like template at the minute. Where when we pulled it up earlier, our run at the end of January into February has been exactly the same for the past 3 seasons, regardless of who's in charge. So, like you said, we could bring someone in. We could get a foreign name, a young foreign manager, where everyone's like, "Oh my god, here we go! Swansea's back because we've hired a foreign manager, and here we go. We're going to play lovely football." And then we could play pointless possession football like we did before, and everybody's calling for his head by December. So it could be exactly the same. Like Sheehan now could come in, and we could be like, "Oh, it's really not worked. Oh my god, the football's terrible. We're not winning games," and he could be sacked by Christmas. Or we could carry on what we're doing and just steadily be mid-table, which is where we are. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. It's the right decision right now.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on. I will say I think he's been very clever as well in the way that we have won games as well, because I've been vocal, as you know, about our attacking players, which still horrendous for me. Like our attacking threat is awful in terms of up front. Apart from Eom, who I think has been very good since Sheehan has come in. I think he's been really good. I've seen a big improvement, and Vipotnik. Everyone else, I haven't seen a massive improvement. Like Cullen worries me a bit. He seems to have fallen off a cliff. I don't know what we're going to do going into next season.
He suits the football, does he really? He's not a striker that can lead the line on his own in a system that demands that.
Yeah, but then where's he supposed to play it? It's just
he's a byproduct of a modern game where he's like that false 9 sort of position, but I think that's getting phased out.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think, like I said, he's been pushing O'Brien forward in like a midfield kind of 3.
He'd work as a shadow striker if we played 2. Do you know what I mean? I think he'd work as a shadow striker, but I wouldn't want him as a number 10. No. So I'd rather a number 10, and obviously we've got Waddell coming in as well.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is there,
Well, it depends. You'd have to go and sign another striker to get rid of Cullen, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but well,
I
anyway,
just can't see us doing that.
and look, without Cullen's goals, we'd probably be in a worse position because he's got 10, isn't he? But he went on that run of form over Christmas where he had like, let me have a look. I did have it up here. So he had 6 goals in 8 games, which is great over Christmas, which was brilliant. He had that run of form. He scored 2 against
Yeah, he was
Sunderland.
playing as number 10, wasn't he?
Yeah, so he had 6 in 8, which was great. But now he's on a run of 2 in 22.
Yeah.
So it's
I
just
don't
like,
know. I think he is better behind the striker. I just don't think he's our best player in that position. That's the problem. As much as he might have got those goals before,
yeah,
I don't think the system that we're playing now is the system that he got those goals in.
no, I
And
think you're right.
him playing in the 10 role in this system, I'd rather O'Brien be there.
No, yeah, you're right, and I think, but my kind of point with Vipotnik as well, I think has been better. Like he's got 3 goals since,
and he's
since
missed a bunch of chances as well. Mind he has got better, but he's missed a bunch of chances. Problem is for Cullen's not getting those chances to miss them.
But I don't. It's Vipotnik's a bit of a strange one as well because he doesn't play a lot. Like it's weird. Some he starts and then he's on the bench, and then he starts
He's
and then he comes
rotating
off
them
like
every other game. It seems, for what I've noticed the last few.
I saw someone mention early on in the season that Vipotnik wasn't 100% fit, and I don't know if there may be something in that because he doesn't have a consistent run of games, does he? So I wonder if he's looked better under Sheehan. So I wonder if now
he's got some sort of injury underlying. That means he can't do several games.
Yeah, so maybe like he could have a bit of a better run in his second season where he's maybe fit. I would believe that.
He did come in from the Euros as well, to be fair.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so maybe
having a summer off my help.
Yeah, so but the point I was getting at was I don't think there's enough attacking threat there in terms of individual quality that he's had. So he's kind of mixed it up a bit. Like you could see, like most of the goals we've scored under Sheehan, you know, Darling's got a few, O'Brien's got one, Key's got one. I think Eom's got like 2, but it's quite spread. And if anything, it's more midfield and defenders that are scoring than our front men. So I just think he's like adapted quite well. He's just found different ways to win.
The bottom line is, right, I think he's made us organised, hard to beat, and we've said, when Duff got appointed, we said his number 1 goal was improve the defence. He couldn't do it. Luke Williams couldn't do it. Sheehan's done it, and we mentioned the attack. Maybe it's an area we really need to improve in, right? But the bottom line is, if you don't concede goals, you don't lose games.
Exactly.
Right? Even if it's 0-0. So even if you can't score many, if you're scoring 1 and you don't concede, you're going to win a game. So like being hard to beat is the base of any good team.
Yep.
And then when you're playing bad, you can still get a point, or you can always steal something at the end. Even if you're only like in the Millwall game, we only lost 1-0, but we're still in into the end, and obviously pushing second half. Didn't come to anything. But on another day, it might, and at least you're in the game. Whereas if that's 2-0, you're not in the game. And we were a lot. To be fair, first half of the season, we only lost by 1 goal margins all season, but there was too many times it was 2-1, or we were conceding a lot of the time, I think, to lose the points under the first half of the season. The 60-minute thing, wasn't it? He seems to fix that as well, to be fair. Like, we're not a 60-minute team anymore. We're not conceding these last-minute goals, these last-minute equalisers, or these last-minute winners to the other team. That hasn't happened at all. That happened under Russell Martin for a long time, and that happened under Luke Williams for a long time. It's just gone.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it won't come back, but it's gone for the moment.
No, I know, and this is what I mean. Like like I said, this time of the season, I don't know whether it's like a trend. Like I said, we play well at the end of the season, or like, obviously Sheehan deserves massive credit, but we kind of don't know what his thing is going to be, do we? We haven't got that body of work to kind of be like, this is how he likes to. So, but maybe it is this though. But maybe this is the body of work. Like, this is what we would see. Like week in, week out would be different.
I think he's shown improvement from even like his spell last season as interim.
100%.
As we've mentioned, as a manager. And I know we're comparing it to the season, saying it's the same, like we always going a better run of form. Yeah, but we won 5 games in a row, and the last time we'd done that was what? So what did I say earlier? 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
So we didn't do that in any of the last 2 seasons.
And like you said, in that run as well was like Leeds away.
We should have been on the beach for a lot of those games, but they still got the wins.
But they were like Leeds and Sunderland away, Derby and Plymouth who had to win, Hull who had to win, and like QPR who kind of still needed points as well. So they weren't like against proper teams on the beach. They weren't against like your Norwiches who are just like nosediving because they're just mid-table doing nothing. And So I think
even Blackburn, who he beat in his first team, can still get into the playoffs going into the last game of the season because they've found themselves a little bit again at the end now. So as much as everyone was beating them for a duration, and we were one of those teams, like they're still going to potentially finish in the playoffs.
I mean, he's lost in that time. So he's had 12 games. He's only lost, how many games he lost? 3?
2, is it?
3 games he's lost. So it was
Watford
away, which we
shouldn't have lost.
Which we shouldn't have lost. It was a mistake, when a really bad mistake. Franco gave the ball
But
back.
we made enough chances in that game to get something out of it.
Burnley at home. Burnley, fair enough. And then the Millwall game, which, it's kind of last but one game of the season. So those are the only 3 games he's lost.
You're losing some games away from home. Like, you're not going to... I know by 1 goal both times, yeah. The Burnley at home, no one's complaining about that.
No. And then you're looking at, like, Millwall away, who needed to win, really, to stay in the playoff, and at home, like you said. And we were still in the game. We were still competitive.
And they got their 1-0 and defended it. So, like, fair play to them.
So, yeah, I think, like, the more we talked about this and looked at it in detail, the more I'm, like, kind of on one side of the fence than the other. But I think just wait and see.
Right. It's only meant to be an hour, so we are going to have to talk about this quick before we go. Luka Modric has joined Swansea City as a co-owner. As I said earlier, he has picked up 5% shares, which actually puts him higher than the trust.
Yeah.
What did you think of this news when it broke?
Where on earth did this come from? I honestly thought it was a joke when I looked at my phone, because it was really, like, short-lived as well, wasn't it? It wasn't like there were rumours floating around for a while. It literally
just happened on one day.
Yeah, it appeared, like, in the morning, like, rumours are, like, there were rumours circulating Modric was taken, like, had got a stake in the club, and then, like, hours later it was announced. So it was, like, all in one day, really. And I remember, I think my brother-in-law sent it to me, and he was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, this has got to be a joke. Like, this is ridiculous. It's silly. I dismissed it, like, straight away. And then it was announced by the club. I just, like, speechless. Where on earth did that come from?
So basically, the short story of it is Modric has been wanting to invest, heading into retirement soon, which I don't think he's announced it yet, but he's getting on, and he's like, is he 40 yet? He's up there.
Yeah.
He's getting on. He's high 30s, I think. And I think Swansea had, like, our new owners since November. This isn't longer than that. This is recent. I've basically not, as much as you put an advert out in investing terms, I guess, saying, like, we're looking for an investor with a high profile, not necessarily like money bags, but somebody with a name and a bit of a global presence and following to come in. And I think it's more of a commercial investment in regards to they're going to use Luka Modric's platform and knowledge more than his money. So that's what they're looking for here. Modric, obviously, his agent announced it to him. I think there's some connections in regards to his agent and one of our owners, potentially, which is why the conversations happened in the first place. And so it's just they aligned. Apparently our hierarchy did go to Madrid to speak to him. And there we are.
Just, amazing. Really good, like, feel-good bit of news, wasn't it? And it came right at the time where we were playing well as well, and it was just so random, though, wasn't it? Like, nobody could have seen anything like that coming.
Apparently it's been announced a long time before it was announced as well. Sorry, it was done a long time before it was announced.
Oh, fair enough.
To put into perspective as well, Tom Brady at Birmingham has made a big deal. Yeah, he's only got 3.3% stake at Birmingham.
Yeah.
So he's got a higher stake. Not that 5% is a massive margin higher. Like I said, it's not about the money. This is really not about the money. Like, Luka Modric is not coming in with millions of pounds to sign Lewis O'Brien next season. Like, that's not happening. But what do you think it could mean for the club?
Well, it's profile, isn't it? I think you look, like you mentioned Tom Brady there, but it's probably maybe not that on that level. But I think globally Modric is a massive name, isn't he? So it just ups the profile of the club. I mean, you look at teams like Wrexham and Birmingham, maybe with massive, owners with massive profiles. I think it just could be to that effect, couldn't it? Like, especially in the game of football, he's got a massive name, so it may attract players, investment, sponsorship. Then, like you said, I think
I think
it's not
that's
so
what it'll
much.
be.
Yeah, it's not so much that he will pile money in, like you said, but he's well known in the game. You could use his I guess you could say use his profile, use his name to attract players and investment into the club. So I think it can only be a good thing.
I think Modric is 40 next season, by the way.
I think he's going to play next year as well, isn't he? I think he's still going to play into next season. So
there's apparently a 12-month extension potentially happening, yeah. So I think, like you said, it's the name. I think you mentioned Wrexham earlier, and the players wanting to play for that. It might be a little bit of this too. Like, he might be involved in the conversations around new signings, and I think that's going to be a helpful thing.
I think the more they'll chuck it out there as well. I think it was kind of announced and then it's kind of gone a bit quiet. But I think
while he's still a player, we might not see the full impact of it. I think maybe when he retires, I'm not saying he's going to move to Swansea, but it would not surprise. He would. I would put a bet on that he will be at the club at some point after he retires. You'll see him at a game. You'll see him at a game. You'll see him in the media or something talking about us, and that's where his presence will be felt.
Yeah,
and I think the Swans have consistently talked about the need to grow their commercial presence to be able to improve their SSP standing, spend more money, all the rest of it. This is, for me, purely an attempt of that, bringing someone in with a platform, with a presence. Like, people here might not think, I don't know, but I think people think this is a massive deal, but he's not like a Cristiano Ronaldo, let's say, for example, or Tom Brady was top of his sport, Luka Modric is a Ballon d'Or winner, and in some countries, maybe not necessarily in Wales or the UK, I think his name is a lot bigger than what we might realise. Yeah, even though we know it's a big name, we all know it's a big name. We're all really excited about it. I think there's just some parts of the world that is an even bigger thing.
Yeah.
And for football players that might come from those areas as well, that's a massive deal perhaps to them.
Yeah.
And well, we'll see we'll see. And I think like the maybe sponsorships and commercial, and maybe like young players as well. Maybe if he can put his name out there to bring in young players from the continent that can come into the academy at a younger age. But also I think he spoke openly about wanting to get involved in decision making and running of the club generally and give his football knowledge. And I think no one can argue. I think we've criticised a lot of times about the people involved in the many made-up roles within the club that we don't fully understand. But now one of those roles is somebody that knows football, that is a football brain, that's been around the game in a position of, I'm not saying he's going to have the be-all and end-all decision-making power, but he's going to be in that room, or maybe virtual room, sometimes making those decisions and giving his input in from a football perspective. And that's something that we wanted for a long time. Probably didn't think it would come this way. I think the last we had really was Trevor Birch, and this is a completely different kettle of fish, but definitely exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is exciting. It's great. Like you said, I think everything you said is spot on. I think it's going to add all that, isn't it? And even if like you said, in some parts of the world, they're not even going to know. They're not even going to know like where Swansea is or ever heard of us as a club. Maybe from the Premier League days, maybe only just. But they'll be like, oh, that's the club that Modric owns.
Yeah, and
that'll be like half the battle of getting. Like I don't know, a 50-50 decision of a player where they're going to go, or a sponsor what club they're going to align to and stuff. So
I'm going to have a quick check before we end the video. How many followers do you think Swansea have got on Instagram?
1 million?
On Instagram, this is probably not the same for all. I don't know what the other social media profiles are. 467k. I thought it'd be higher, to be fair. That's quite low, I think. But 467k. Luka Modric?
No idea.
37.2 million.
37 million?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
has he put anything on his
got
Instagram?
Like 74 times as many. How many did I say Swansea have? 800.
No, 400k.
400k. So yeah, about 80 times as many followers as the club on Instagram.
There we go.
So
does he put it on his Instagram?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, it was announced in April, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He probably doesn't post on his Instagram though, does he?
It's not run by him, is it? But
he hasn't posted since the announcement.
Right, okay.
Other than one, which is happy birthday to his daughter. The last actual post was 2nd of April.
God, and he's got 37 million. Fair play.
I mean, there was a few before, like loads in March, but nothing really in April. When was this announced?
It wasn't
April,
that long ago.
wasn't it?
It was April, yeah.
Yeah, so there's only been the happy birthday to his daughter since this has been announced. So maybe he's busy behind the scenes.
I'd imagine he's pretty busy.
Yeah. Anything else then before we wrap up?
No, I think that's it. I think we covered quite a bit there.
How many shirts are we going to see at the stadium next year? Modric on the back.
Oh, loads.
Oh, that's
So
the one question we'll have to ask. Is he going to play for us?
No. He's going to retire, and then that's it. Then maybe in like a charity match.
Do you think he'd even be allowed? Would that be allowed?
Well, not while he's playing for Real Madrid. That won't be allowed.
No, like if he's out of contract in the summer, what I'm saying is he's technically a co-owner of the club. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Actually, yeah, I don't know.
Would he actually be allowed to play?
I don't know.
Because people joking about it and stuff. Like, I'm just wondering. Like, for the record, I don't think it's going to happen. I think dreaming, but like in a mad world, is it even plausible? Like, can that even happen? Is that even allowed? Is there not like a conflict of interest there?
I wouldn't have thought so. Also, he wouldn't get in our midfield anyway in the minute with Franco and O'Brien. So
probably play him anywhere on the pitch. To be fair, if he was here,
won't get in the team. We've got Franco and O'Brien next year, and Waddell as well. If he's coming in, he can sit on the bench.
Coach him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming as always. Don't forget, as always, leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a rating on Spotify or any of the other podcast platforms. Really helps us move up the rankings and get seen by more people. And we appreciate everyone that watches and listens. And thanks, as always, for all of your support. So we shall see you in the next one.
See you soon.